Tonight's AFTERBUZZ TV Bar Rescue After Show, Gettin Jigger With It.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
If you get in
Hello, AFTERBUZZ TV Bar Rescue fans. Keven Undergaro here with Dorinda and Gabby.
Hi, guys.
An amazing episode tonight. I was so relieved to watch this. I thought it was going to be I just thought it was boring by the previews. I thought it was going to be. It wasn't. And I'm super excited to talk about Sam Jordan's and the great Sam Jordan. Oh, my God, and that reminds me. Stephen Lemieux in the booth. Stephen, will you do me a kindness?
Sure.
Will you look up Sam Jordan, San Francisco, and if you do some due diligence, in fact, let me give you a shout out to Bar Rescue Updates. If you go to Bar Rescue Updates, you'll see that there's a historical kind of document for this bar that has unbelievable information on Sam Jordan's. And if it's possible, if you find it, and I know you can find it, so don't be a millennial and say you can't, because I had it last night. I want you to find it.
Right
all right, thank you. And then I want you to print it up and bring it to me.
Okay.
Unbelievable information on this guy's life and the history of this bar, which I found fascinating. But again, this was great. I was happy after last week.
Much, yes.
Right?
It was a breath of fresh air today. Well, I mean Sunday, I should say. When it aired.
So we've got Ruth and Alan, the two children of former light heavyweight boxing champion Sam Jordan. God, I wish he had the info. I should have brought this info in, but this Sam Jordan guy was something. Huge in his community. He was very detail oriented. He was very much into an exact pour. Like they could say he'd be half asleep at the bar, and if you overpoured, he knew. Like his eyes would pop open, knowing he was so frugal, and that's why the bar was so successful, and that's why he was able to save money to buy the bar. He also owns the building, so the kids own that building. And this is San Francisco people, so that
real estate right there alone is
worth it. But that was through Dad.
Real quick, Kev. It's
Yes.
31 pages. How many? What?
Just anything you can find on the history of Sam himself. I only had to go a few pages in to see it.
Okay.
because they opened the place in 1956.
Yeah.
And he was also a huge civil rights activist.
Mm-hmm.
He ran for mayor. He won.
He ran for mayor, and he came very close. But this area of San Francisco is called Butchertown, and he was known as the mayor of Butchertown. Even though he didn't win the election, it didn't matter. He was known as that. He was very familiar with his staff. There was staff members there who worked there for many, many, many years, and he worked really hard to keep them there. It was predominantly African Americans who, after they would come from the meat cutting job or the district they'd work in, would come there. Although he welcomed white people as well, and he opened it at a time where many of his patrons were not allowed to go to the white bars. Yep. There were white bars nearby that would be happy to cash their checks, but wouldn't let them sit there. So he made a place very open to that, and he had a lot of famous people perform there. And again, I don't have it written down because I had thought I was going to print this up, but he was a real special guy. And there was even at the very end, they threw up a picture of him when they did the black screen and it was him in front of a sign, and I DVR'd the sign. And this is how far ahead this guy was. So this sign was probably, it looked like, the reason I guess this picture was taken in the early 70s is because the cigarette machine was 85 cents for a pack of cigarettes. So and I looked up online, I think that was somewhere in the 70s.
I think it said 1971 on the picture.
On the picture, oh, good eye. But it was when I froze the DVR, I read the sign. It was an anti-smoking ad, signed by Sam.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, oh, you'll end up in your own flip-up box.
I got the image up on the screen.
Yeah, there
There
it
it is.
He was like, you'll end up in your own flip-up box by the end, which is, of course, he means a coffin.
Yeah.
But he was like, whether you're a sexy woman or handsome guy, you're going to smell like an ashtray. You're going to, I mean, like right above the cigarette machine. It's just really cool. Like that
That's
he'd be that
crazy.
progressive back then.
So then question, at what point did he start getting himself into debt?
Well, I think he got sick. And sickness will do that, Gab. If you don't have health
The
insurance,
finances,
if you don't have
yeah.
proper health insurance, and if you're a private businessman, it's the worst. And remember, like a lot of our insurance companies are so bad that if you're private, they can pull the plug on you.
Yeah.
You know,
That is very true.
they can just say, "Okay, we're done." Like, you know, even though wait, I've been a customer for 20-some years. Yeah, but now you're really sick. You know, so thank you, Stephen. Stephen just brought us in the whole history. But I think that it made sense that when he got sick, they took out the loan for $250,000,
And
then
it was a hard loan. It wasn't. It was one of those hard loans. She was saying. So
Here
then
you
they
go.
had to
Read up.
take out a second. They had to take out a second $250 loan to pay off that loan.
right. And remember, you no longer have. I mean, Sam seemed like such a powerful man.
He was in the Navy. He also ran for mayor, so he was in politics.
Yes,
Which is great.
but he was probably such a powerful man running the show, and I've seen this happen, that and I remember a family business I knew where the grandfather was the patriarch, also got sick really quickly, and then when he got sick, the son had to step in and just didn't know what to do because he was more of he had been a laborer in the company. He'd never done it. So I think these guys had to, the kids had to fill the shoes. And of course, they're not going to be able to make the money back on the first loan. So,
And this is also interesting. They say here that, and I think they might have mentioned this in the episode, that he had also done other entrepreneurial things where he was running his own barbecue catering business. So it makes sense of why they were, working with specific food, with the brisket and
Right.
ribs and things like that. Although it didn't transfer down to the kids.
well, again, because the kids maybe, he probably was the alpha male who ran the whole thing. And maybe, like a lot of parents who were once poor, the first mistake that they all make is that they spoil the kids.
Yeah, and
So
don't
they shelter the
teach
kids.
them.
Yeah, they want. Oh, I just want my kid to have a better life than me. I just want them to have a better life than me. And then maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, and then when you don't teach your kids how to survive, it's like if you don't teach someone how to cook, they'll never have food.
Right. And I felt like with the son, he was well intended, but I feel like he just wasn't it's just his body language, everything. I think he probably got an easier pass.
Oh yeah, because was he the first child?
I don't know, but I feel like you could easily be, with a dad that's famous and successful. And again, a first gen father in that position
Yes.
is typically going to not raise the kid in the same way.
So it looks like the bar that he had was a bar before he bought the building.
It was something tavern. What was the name?
It was Lagavre's. Forgive me if I say this wrong. Tavern.
Right. So Lagavre. So I really geeked out. So Lagavre's Tavern, because the Lagavre family owned the building, and they had owned it since when it was built in the mid 1800s.
Yeah, 1883.
Okay, so they were a French family that owned it, and so they created a tavern. And then Sam bought it and changed it to Sam's Tavern. Then eventually it got changed to Sam's, and then it became Sam Jordan's, over the history of time. But one of the things I love is I love bars with the Warren Tavern in Boston's. I've been around for a few hundred years, and I just love. We've talked about this before, Dorinda, but I love bars that have that history. So just think of 60, 70 years of all the people who sat in that bar.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I've talked about it before, but my best friend's bar in Rumson was an old speakeasy, and the history behind it and everything, and they've pretty much kept it to where it is because
cool.
they wanted to honor what it was before. But yeah, it was an old speakeasy in Rumson, New Jersey, and they would, and she still does, keep it pretty much intact and really respectful of the history of that bar.
And I love that. And I love, as soon as I saw it was historic, I said, okay, we're good. Like, I think this thing survives. I think it does. I think Bar Rescue really is going to put the cherry on top to make sure that this place survives. you know, and like even if the community has to step in. Oh, and that's the other thing too. He ran scholarships out of there.
Yeah, he helped people
Fundraisers.
that
He
need
used
help.
that bar. He used it all the time to do other things to help people.
Yeah, it says here his leadership activities varied in scope from acting as a father figure for younger men and women who came through his bar to mentoring other African American entrepreneurs in the neighborhood and providing financial assistance for their fledgling business ventures. So he
Cool,
actually
right?
helped out people.
This is
financially.
God. I almost makes me want to. I might have to plant a seed with John because I want to see more historic bars like this.
Yeah,
This is
such history
so
behind
cool. I mean, we've done it before on the show, but
No, but this is something. This is something to be proud of. Like these kids,
it's a legacy.
It is a legacy, and to keep it going throughout the years.
I like this comment as well. It says, Jordan's hiring practices appear to have been placed on his own gut feelings rather than candidates' resumes. That's really nice because, and I've met people like this before, they'd rather hire on
Stephen
character.
Lemieux in the booth from Chili's.
Yeah,
Right,
if you have a
Stephen?
good judge of character, then you know. Just
Stephen
like
is executive at Popcorn Talk now all these years later, but he just was a great waiter at Chili's. And I said, come with me, friend.
there you
Extra
go.
crispy wing sauce on the side.
That's it. Seriously.
There's an order you'll always remember, Stephen.
But you know what else I wish if Johnson touched these people, I think that they, along with the amazing remodel, I think that spirit needs to come back. I feel like they don't maybe have that leadership ability. Maybe the niece does, or maybe there's a son, daughter, or whatever. But someone needs to use that bar as more of a community center, again to.
Because that will get people will come in. You'll have more people,
Right.
even more people from the city will come to a place like that because
Yep.
people are starving for that right now.
Right.
Starving
For
for
help.
something. Yeah, for help, history, if the food is great, all of those things.
Well, John Taffer always says how why bars are so important. They were the meeting houses back in the Revolutionary War. This was it. Everything started in a bar. That's why they were called public houses.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to talking about history, when I went to a wedding in Annapolis, I went to a bar, and it was one of the oldest bars, and it was there during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, I love that.
And you walk into that bar, and you feel like you're walking into
Was
history.
it low ceilings?
Very low ceilings. We are definitely much taller as a people now, but it was very cool. Of course, they renovated and have done things, but I feel they kept it pretty much as close as they could to what it was, and it was so cool. So cool. Had it upstairs. Everything was dark wood, as they did back in the
Right.
day. It was so amazing.
I may need the name of that place.
I know.
I need to look it up online.
Here, I can do it while we're talking.
So listen, let's get into the actual episode.
And just to go back,
Okay,
Kevin,
of
sorry,
course.
this bar actually opened in 1959. Just to
59.
correct everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So
59, San Francisco,
in the Butcher District.
in the Butcher District.
Butchertown. So but you know, it was interesting when getting to the actual show. So John wheels up with our old friend Vic Vegas, who I just love,
Yes.
Oh, I'm in love
and
with
Derek
him.
Turner, new friend,
Mixologist.
mixologist. And I don't know if this is true, but John was. You could see you could hear his voice. He was sick. Could you
A
tell?
little bit.
And I just wonder if that's why he didn't send in Vic and Derek to do the recon for him. Just a little, me just guessing.
Yeah, I mean, he did say he didn't want to go in because he was really annoyed and frustrated.
With what he was seeing.
I'm sure he
with what
was.
he was seeing.
But I think because he was annoyed and frustrated, he knew he was going to need like a ton of energy to go deal with these people. And I think it was probably better to get him home in bed.
Could have been. Maybe he just wanted to call it a night.
No, John's not like, no, he's never like that. But, and he's friends with Vic. And so I think Vic and Derek did a great job by going in and seeing what they saw, which, was, we've seen worse kitchens, but,
They got involved, but before that, they had their recon spies in there as well.
that's true. You're right. And go
who were
ahead.
just random, two civilians, as you would say.
I love
They
when
seemed
you
like
say
they were a
that.
couple of
Civilians.
and they tried ordering drinks. They didn't have a cocktail menu to order from, which was very interesting because Sam back in the day had a special cocktail that he would serve to people called the Damn Sam. So I was surprised that wasn't even, something that they were promoting.
They lost that too.
But yeah, so there was no menu. The food was separate from the bar. You had to go to the back kitchen, which was a small window, and it only accepted cash to be able to order something that wasn't even half good. It was raw chicken.
That's a big thing, I think. It wasn't so much...
The brisket was
dry.
Brisket was dry.
Smothered with sauce.
So I think it's really about the fact that the quality of the food was not there. It wasn't so much... We've seen dirty. We've seen all that before. But to do barbecue in the right way, and again, a shout out to John and 3 Ball and Bar Rescue for giving us that little side piece on how collagen in the meat...
Yeah,
that was nice.
Right? Why an oven? Why a traditional oven really can't do ribs the right way? Why you have to get it to melt inside to give it that soft kind of feel.
And I love how they came in with the temperature gun to kind of measure everything and see where the meat was at.
Yeah.
And it was very below.
What about when he does the macaroni and cheese?
That was good.
And I was like, way to ruin macaroni and cheese for me.
Well, again, it was good to get into the finer end. It was nice that it wasn't just a matter of, oh my God, there's rats in here, there's this, there's that. They could actually get into, okay, you're making this food, but it's dry, the quality's not there, and And
it looked like Alan had no, when you run a bar or you run a kitchen or you run anything, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an everyday word.
Like structure?
Like, yes.
Organizational skills. Leadership.
Structure. Systems like set in. So, because I'm jumping a little bit, but when they did the recon part, he's going and turning around and getting the chicken, where the chicken should have been next to him in that, he should have just put the chicken into the fryer. Instead, he's turning around. So when we saw in the end of Recon, it was messy. It wasn't dirty. There's a difference between messy and dirty.
Right.
And this was messy because everything was all over the place.
Yeah, there was no system. And again, this was a guy who was a contractor, so he didn't have any experience as a
thing. This wasn't his
and you could tell it by his body language or whatever. It was like, nah, I'm gonna sit back there for the rest of my life, let people bring me money to the window. I'll just take the money and what's it. He kind of seemed like a lot of, unfortunately, guys from families, the spoiled boy in the family, where the girl does all the work. She's assuming all the responsibilities, all the bills, right? The utility. I mean, and he just basically grabs whatever cash he can, and then who knows what he does with it.
Right. And, I think also the fact that their relationship with his sister wasn't really all there played into him really not caring about what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. That was so hampered, their relationship. I thought if this didn't happen, eventually at some point they would have no relationship, because they were going down that road of having no relationship together.
And he's so stubborn. That was quite a revelation that he basically could take in cash, and all he had to do was half the utilities, not even the rent. So it was just a shit deal to begin with.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, he stopped paying the utilities, so then they started paying the utilities, so he wasn't really even paying the utilities. So he's basically just going in there and getting free money.
Exactly.
It's pretty interesting that he didn't just, bank in on that, cash in, because if you don't have any bills to pay, why wouldn't you be working your butt off to make as much money as you can?
Yeah, but that's an unfortunate point, is what we even learn in welfare for most cases, is that the more you get for doing nothing, the less you do. You don't have that mentality.
Don't have to work for it.
So you say,
because it's coming to you, no matter what.
No matter what.
And that's
John really went at him hard.
Oh yeah, I like the whole, every time he would say something, put up an empty glass, and then the niece gets into it.
Oh yeah,
she was
great.
Is her name Vicky?
I don't remember, but she was great. So every time John slammed the glass, she'd slamming.
She got involved.
She did. I still get nervous that John gets too crazy.
I think he was perfect for this family.
No.
They needed it.
No, I know that, but when he starts like slamming things and throwing things, like, we just live in a crazy world of people who, obviously view that as assault, or what I mean. It's just, I get nervous for John. Like,
they probably signed their life away though in those contracts.
I mean, you can sign whatever you want, but then you're a celebrity, so it's like, anyone can do anything. I mean, I'm hoping they do. I know it's just because he was really slamming.
Really.
He was getting
But we've seen worse. Come on, we've seen worse than
we
glasses.
have, and I just
Didn't he push over a bar once?
I mean, yes. I mean,
He flips tables.
I also it's just like his blood pressure. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's what makes the show. But I worry about John. I loved Vic's fried chicken and sweet toast.
Oh.
Right, it looks pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, it looked amazing.
So you being Southern girl, Dorinda, right? Pretty awesome, right?
I thought it was a great. When he did, because I was like sweet toast, and but I figured what it was afterwards. It looked so good too, especially because he was using buttermilk, and the accent comes out sometimes. But he had the buttermilk and the syrup and everything, and it looks. I was like, how am I gonna get that recipe?
Yeah.
It looked awesome,
Sorry,
right?
Mom, I know yours is great, but.
And great call once again by John, great leader. He's like, okay, Ruth and Alan, you're gonna work in the kitchen together.
I loved it. And the look on her face though, when he said it, like that first that real emotion look, it's always in the first second. She was like, "What?
Yeah, what?
What?" He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna do this," and she's like, "Okay." She's like, "I don't have a choice. I gotta do this," and I think it worked together.
Yeah. Oh, it totally worked.
Yeah,
well,
it
made
worked.
them. You know, sometimes when you can make two people who aren't getting along, if you can make them understand each other's side, that's the best thing. It's like, oh, okay, I get what you're. You know, she made mistakes in there too, so she's like, I get it. I get where you're coming from a little bit.
The nice thing about this family is that they were willing to change, and they were willing to accept that they had problems. Whereas a lot of these people John works with fight him on it, and they don't want to accept that what they're doing is wrong.
Whole other side conversation that I shouldn't have with you.
Keven, you're such a hater.
No, but no, because what you're saying is right, and I want to tell you why. Unfortunately, this is not the first minority group that we've seen here, African Americans, who have bought into all of John and have profited as a result. I feel like this is not for everyone, but you know, we deal with a lot of addicts on this show, you know, right? Or if they're not addicts, someone was in their line. So that's one problem. Then you're dealing with just in general with people's egos. And then on top of that, you know, man, just, I hate to say, but white people privilege, you know, like they know, F you, I know better, you're an idiot. Whereas like you could see they were just, and Ruth said, you know, she put out a statement saying, you know, I know a lot of people say that John degrades people, but you know, he didn't. He was amazing. He changed our lives. Like, it was just, I don't know. Again, it may just be a coincidence, but we've seen other African-American bar owners who have also been tough, but then they've complied and been, like, so grateful for the help.
Except for the guy who had the lips bar.
Yes.
Except for that dude.
Except for that guy.
Well, they definitely
about
showed
him.
appreciation.
They did, and it was just nice because not like he was easy on them.
No.
You know, he especially beat up the brother. Like, you know, like the brother, he sat there and took it.
And I like the placement of the episodes, especially coming from last week.
Yes.
Where we had someone who was so ungrateful, didn't listen to anything he said, and then changed it all around.
Probably Spike.
Coming into this.
That's probably Spike more than Three Ball and John, but you know, you never know. You can have a say in that. We had a say.
Yeah, I think it is Spike for sure. But
we had a say with Oxygen when we did our reality show. Like, we would advise them, but it was so good after last week, which to me was so depressing. It was such a bummer. And then this was like, wow. I'm like, I'm right back.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna throw in there. You know, they failed wonderfully in the kitchen on Recon, but they succeeded more so with getting them back on track with each other.
Yep.
So that's really where the success went. Who
John.
really kind of cares about the food going out? But seriously, it's a Recon anyway. And who really cared about the food getting out there? But you know what? He got the two of them to work together, and she got it. Like, she got it, and he got it.
For the big picture, it's getting them to work together.
Yeah. So it was never about the food actually.
That's John. But that's John. And those are coaching techniques. And God, he just knows his shit when it comes to that stuff.
When they did the sit down.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about that. the sit down, emotional moment. We found out the dad died on the 29th, the same day John showed up. So that seemed.
I actually teared up.
Yeah, I did too. I did too. So that was just kismet. And the brother said, I don't think it's a coincidence at all. And I thought that come to Jesus moment with all of them was great.
Yeah, and then when John winds up leaving and it's just the two of them and they're getting up, they're with TV sometimes, especially reality TV, which this is considered, that was a real moment between the brother and sister that they caught on camera. Yeah. And that was another time I got a little verklempt, because you really see that they truly do love each other. Yeah. And it was, and it's just everything that was going on, and the stress of her losing all this money and him not really caring. But I think he didn't care. He cared, but he didn't know what he was doing. Right. So you have all of that coming together, and then they really see each other kind of for the first time, I feel.
The niece was great too.
Oh yeah,
I really liked
her.
her.
She was great. But here comes Derek comes in. None of them knew how to make. What is it about people not being able to make Manhattans?
I don't know.
Really, technically, one of the easiest drinks to ever make.
The one thing is, I've never been. Maria's always big on with this show revealing to her how disgusting kitchens and bars are. But what's really been revealed to me is how bartenders always seem like they know their shit. I mean, I guess because I just order beer or like easy things. Yeah. Vodka soda. Like, they're really lame.
Yeah.
Like by seeing this show. Like every week we see like awful bartenders.
I think the problem is a lot of these places are in areas that are kind of more humble, and they're not looking for those city drinks that you would
Manhattan,
find. Yeah, Manhattan, you'd order at something like a W Hollywood.
No, get in here. Help me.
No, I disagree with you.
You think that market
I know
orders
for
Manhattan?
Because here's the thing.
Screwdrivers. Like we've seen them.
Okay, screwdrivers are easy.
No, you say that, but
the
girl a couple weeks ago couldn't do a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Remember?
And okay, so with training over at TGI Fridays, where
they trained you though. That's the thing. Not everyone trains you.
And it was there's 8 classic cocktails. I don't care who you are as a bartender. I was counting them before. I've forgotten a couple, but I'm sure I know exactly if you say what they are. I know what they are. But there's 8 classic cocktails that everyone should know. And Manhattan is on there, Old Fashioned, Rob Roy, Long Island Iced Tea. No, I'm only joking. That's not true. But there's a few, like Rusty Nail or something. Yeah. But you have all those, and those are just things you should just have. If you have those 8 cocktails, you can move around and do other cocktails. So I just feel those are just, if you're going to be behind the bar, you get hired for a job, any job you do, in the first day or two, you're so into it. Why aren't you looking at recipes? Where one of the girls is like, I'll just Google it.
I don't know. I just find that some of these places, some of these bars are hole in the walls, and that's why John's going in, and maybe their customers are lacking.
I wasn't always at the high-end bars. I mean, I was in the suburbs of Boston, and just people
Boston.
Knew. Okay.
I don't know. I think there's places we go to on this show, maybe not even this one specifically, but there's places we go to that are in the middle of nowhere. So
they don't know.
It's the passerbyers on the highway.
Well, needless to say, let's get to the good stuff. So we do the reveal. We do the recon, which I don't know if it's true, but I read online that this recon was 10 days. So I read online. I don't know if it's true or not, but usually it's a 4 or 5. I'll have to ask John. But
because I know that they were training at a different bar this time too. Like, because when they were doing, I noticed, because a lot of times when they have those heart-to-heart bar talks, it's in the bar itself, but this time
this was on a different location, which, by the way, a shout out to whatever that bar was. How cool was that bar with all the jar, whatever it was? Like,
I don't know where it was, and what was the?
That's what I'm saying. Are they jars, sprockets? I don't know what it was underneath the glass of the bar. Pretty cool. But I love looking at the before pictures, because it wasn't that the bar was just so bad. It was kind of plain and old.
Yeah, run down.
It looked like a VF instead of a VFW club. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it was that kind of look. And to see what John did with it, and starting with the outside, that he restored it back to the original colors.
I knew he was going to do that.
Yeah.
I had a feeling, because when there's history behind something, you want to keep it there and keep the locals happy. And I love that he just restored it and didn't change anything.
And he highlighted the lights. He did the shadowing on the lights, and
Yes. The posts as well, like
and
the columns.
And yes, and how great was the plaque? See, to me, the plaque is what makes it like no one's ever taken that bar down.
Yeah.
And it gives them history and a place of their own
to appreciate.
Yeah, because I feel also too that it wasn't their place. It was like our dad's place, our
Yep.
dad's place,
Yes.
our dad's place.
Now it's our family's
Exactly.
place. And I love how they renovated the old stools, like all the way to they kept the old stools. They just rehabbed the old stools, but on the inside, I think they had a video even of Sam.
They had
right?
two flat screen TVs with like video and photo of him, and I thought that was amazing.
So cool.
Like a slideshow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got very emotional about that because it's his spirit was still there.
And I noticed the niece said it's like he's still here. Like she's like, I miss him so much. It was so cool to see that. Even the stage area, all that. I mean, like they just made it such a cool place. Like I have to say that this is one of the ones that like if I'm in San Fran, I gotta get over there.
Yeah.
I would love to, especially because the barbecue looks so good. And then they took the ribs and then they took the burnt ends of the ribs. Looks so good.
And they restored his. I love his cooker.
The slow cooker,
for
not the
40
slow
years.
cooker. The smoker.
The smoker that gets you to 195 degrees on the inside of the meat. And they were saying, that Sam would have been out there doing it with that very same smoker.
And that's the thing about barbecue, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, but I know some don't. They're listening to this. When you go to like a barbecue restaurant, like Bloodso's, which is great. Please, if you're ever in LA, go there. There's Bloodso's. There's Style Switch in Austin, Texas. They have their own person who does the pit, as they call it. It's called a pit master, and that's all they do is the meats. And they're trained in it. They come in at 2 a.m. and they'll cook all the food for the day, and they just do it in the pit with this smoker and everything. And it's amazing to watch. It really is. And they just go back there out in their little thing and they just cook. Yeah.
And it takes that. It really, for barbecue, it takes that. We used to do in the carny business. We used to do these things called the rib cook-offs, and we would kind of provide the fun foods, the fried dough and the stuff on the side. But to be with these guys and the rib cookers and how long it would take and how much pride they would take in who had the best rib, it was fun. But it's not a matter of throwing it in the oven.
Oh, no, it's not. I've seen people get into fight about different barbecues, like Kansas City versus Texas versus Memphis. Like, I've seen it, and I'm like, people are really fighting about food like
I'm
that?
all in on all of it. Well, it's no surprise that the place ends up being successful. I went to Bar Rescue Updates, as I said, and this was a first. No negative reviews at all. 100% positive reviews on Yelp and on the Bar Rescue site.
That's amazing.
So really something special. One of the better Bar Rescue episodes. Definitely what the doctor ordered from last week. A little tease to next week. We have a bratty stepson who is going and drumming up business at opposing bars because he hates the stepfather. They're painting it pretty good. We've got
this is an example of your privilege talk.
Yes.
There's another one of those.
Yes. Great. So anyway, next week looks like it's going to be a fun one. In the meantime, Gabby, what clubs are you dancing at now?
I have not been clubbing, actually. I don't go to clubs.
Not the Rhino. You're done with that?
I'm done for the most part. I like
Rhino,
lounges. I like a glass of wine at dinner. I have a boyfriend now, so...
Okay,
I don't need to be out like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Unless we're together.
Where do we find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Gabby_Loren or Twitter at Gabrielle_Loren. For the amount of times we've said this, right?
Exactly.
You guys probably already got this down. Your turn, Dorinda.
And you can find me on Instagram at DorindaB1 and on Twitter at LulaCherryFilms.
At Undergaro, and I don't know, check out the tomorrowshow.com, you guys. My producer's been giving me a hard time. I don't talk about that enough. Tonight,
I want to come over to that.
Come
one
out
day.
anytime, you guys. Mondays and Thursday nights. Come to the Thursday night show, and we'll go out drinking afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Especially the next 2 weeks, because Karen, aka Maria, is out of town. So I can be stupid. I can act stupid and get away with it.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, and until next week, you guys, and our bratty stepson. Have fun. Keep drinking. I used to have a teacher. My friend's teacher used to hated his students so much. He would say to them, "Just remember this weekend, drink up, drive fast." All right, you guys, take care. We'll see you next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.